Attention passionate Seattle Seahawks fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC West and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Seattle Seahawks' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Seattle Seahawks fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Seattle Seahawks fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. If you've been paying attention to the NFL news cycle lately, you've probably heard some whispers about the New Orleans Saints and their current struggles. But what's really catching everyone's eye is a potential blockbuster trade that could send shockwaves through the NFC West and, more specifically, benefit the Seattle Seahawks in a big way. Yes, that's right. I'm talking about the possibility of Crhis Olave, one of the most exciting young wide receivers in the league, potentially finding his way to Seattle. And why does this matter so much for the Seahawks? Well, let's break it down together and analyze what this could mean for the team, the division, and the future of the franchise. First, let's set the stage. The Saints, despite having a talented roster, are facing some serious hurdles right now. They've been dealing with a laundry list of issues, including some concerns at quarterback, a new coaching staff led by Kellen Moore, salary cap problems, and a recent history that makes you wonder about their long-term plans. The core of the issue seems to revolve around their star quarterback, Derek Carr, whose performance has been inconsistent, and the team's overall ability to contend for a Super Bowl. On top of that, there's the fact that the Saints have some players, like Crhis Olave, who might be caught in the crossfire of organizational shifts. Olave, a wide receiver with undeniable star potential, has been a bright spot for New Orleans, but recent rumors suggest that his future with the Saints isn't set in stone. Why is that? Well, it's mainly due to a combination of factors. Olave has a history of concussions, which raises red flags for teams that are cautious about player health and longevity. More importantly, there's a perceived disconnect between Olave and the Saints' new regime. Reports indicate that the relationship between the player and the organization has cooled, especially considering that Olave's style of play and aspirations might not align perfectly with what the Saints are rebuilding toward. Plus, with 2 more years on his rookie contract, there's a window for the Saints to explore trade options that could bring in draft capital or other assets, especially if they decide that a rebuild or retooling is necessary. Now, here's where it gets interesting for Seahawks fans. The idea of trading for Olave might seem odd at first glance. Some might say, wait, but Seattle already has Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith-Njigba, right? Do we really need another receiver? And that's a fair point. But let's peel back the layers and see why Olave could actually be a perfect fit for the Seahawks offense, especially considering their current roster construction and future outlook. For starters, Seattle's wide receiver room is in a decent spot, but it's not perfect. Kupp, as talented as he is, might face a potential cut in 2026 or 2027 to free up cap space, saving the Seahawks around $9 million or $14 million, respectively, in future seasons. That's a significant amount of cap relief, and it hints at the fact that Seattle isn't necessarily committed to Kupp long-term, at least not without some flexibility. But beyond just cap considerations, the team needs a receiver who can play more outside, someone who can stretch defenses vertically and make plays on the boundary. That's exactly where Olave fits in. In 2024, a whopping 70% of his routes were run from out wide, showcasing his ability to operate on the perimeter, create separation, and make big plays downfield. And here's an intriguing storyline: Olave and Jackson Smith-Njigba were college teammates at Ohio State. The chemistry and familiarity between those two could be a huge plus for Seattle if they manage to pull off this trade. Imagine pairing Smith-Njigba with his former teammate Olave, creating a dynamic duo that defenses will struggle to contain. It's a classic case of chemistry translating from college onto the NFL stage, and for a team looking to maximize their offensive potential, that's a big selling point. Now, from a financial perspective, the Seahawks aren't overextending themselves. They've allocated only the 21st most money to their wide receiver room in the NFL, which means they still have some cap flexibility to make a move. With multiple second and third round picks in this year's draft, they're in a position to take a calculated swing on a player like Olave, who is still on his rookie contract and has a fifth-year option in 2026. That means they could get him for a few more seasons at a relatively affordable rate, giving them a cost-effective, high-upside weapon for the next few years. Let's consider the potential return for the Saints now. If they decide to trade Olave, they could be looking at a second or third round pick this season. Given Olave's talent and potential, that's a reasonable ask, and there would be a number of teams interested in acquiring a young, talented receiver under team control. For the Saints, trading Olave might be a way to acquire draft capital and start fresh, especially if they're shifting their focus towards building around their quarterback and coaching staff. But let's not forget the bigger picture. The NFC West is a highly competitive division with teams that are constantly evolving and reshaping their rosters. The Seahawks, under head coach Pete Carroll, are always looking for ways to stay competitive and push for another deep playoff run. Adding a player like Olave could be a game-changer, providing the kind of vertical threat and playmaking ability that can open up the entire offense. Imagine Geno Smith, who has been steady if not spectacular, having that extra weapon on the outside to keep defenses honest. It could elevate the Seahawks' passing game significantly, giving them more explosive plays and a better shot at contending for a division title and, ultimately, a Super Bowl. Of course, there are questions too. Will Olave want a fresh start? Does Seattle have the roster space and cap room to make this happen? And what about the Saints side of things? Are they truly willing to part ways with such a talented young receiver? The answers are still uncertain, but all signs point to a potential blockbuster move that could reshape the NFC West. In the end, what's exciting for Seahawks fans is the possibility of seeing their team make bold moves, taking advantage of the current market conditions and the needs of their division rivals. Olave's talent, combined with Seattle's draft capital and cap flexibility, makes this a trade worth watching. It's a perfect example of how the NFL is a league of strategic moves, where timing and fit are everything. And if this trade does happen, it could be one of the most impactful decisions for the Seahawks in recent years, setting them up for a new era of explosive offense and division dominance. Remember, folks, the landscape is always shifting, and the Seahawks are always looking for ways to stay ahead of the curve. Whether this trade materializes or not, it's clear that the team is thinking big and aiming to stay competitive in an increasingly tough NFC. And that's what makes following the Seahawks so exciting. You never know what move they'll make next, but you can be sure it'll be strategic, bold, and aimed at bringing more glory to this franchise. So keep your eyes peeled and stay tuned, because the next big chapter for Seattle could be just around the corner, and it might include one of the most talented young receivers in the league today. Pause here, just for a second. If you want, the YouTube algorithm, to keep recommending, the latest Seattle Seahawks news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick, and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now, let's continue with the big reveal. And finally, I want to hear from you, Seahawks fans. What's your take on this potential move? Do you think the Seahawks should go all in for Olave? Would it make sense for the Saints to trade him? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because your opinion matters so much to us and to the future of this team. I'll be back soon with more updates, rumors, and analysis, so stay tuned for the latest Seattle Seahawks news. Remember, this is a team that's always looking for ways to improve, to surprise, and to challenge the best. And if they pull off a move like this, it could very well be the start of a new chapter, one filled with excitement and championship aspirations. Thanks for sticking with me, Seahawks fans. Your passion fuels this channel, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for this incredible team.